In today's video, Darren Till is cut by the UFC. Valentina Shevchenko believes Erin Blanchfield is too green. Sergei Povlovich serves as the backup for Jones vs. Gane. Dana White open to making Makhachev vs. Volkanovski rematch. Before we get into these stories, quickly click that subscribe button. You've done that? Cool. UFC Roster Watch on Twitter stunned a lot of people when it posted its recent group of fighter removals, which included UFC British middleweight contender Darren Till. Despite a third-round submission to Dricus du Plessis at UFC 282 this past December, it appeared as though Till would remain on the roster. UFC President Dana White even praised the gorilla after his Fight of the Night awarded performance, saying his stock has not dropped at all. Well, recently, the popular middleweight went to social media to confirm the news that he has parted ways with the UFC. The gorilla said in a tweet, "What's happening, everyone? Me, Dana, and Hunter are still cool as f***. I asked UFC to remove me just to sort some other shit for the foreseeable. They happily agreed to release me out of contract, which I appreciate. I'm not going anywhere, got big plans to execute, and I'll be back." According to Till, he asked the UFC to release him from his current contract because he has to just to sort some other shit for the foreseeable and has plans to return. Post UFC 282, Till insisted that he is not done with fighting, but will be taking a break from the UFC, saying,
"You don't always get what you want in this life. It's tough. Fucking 29 now. I've been at the top of the sport since 2017. I entered in the UFC in 2015. I'm doing this video because I feel like you should do it. I should do it now, the right times now. I'm not retiring, this is not a retirement speech. I'm 29, that'd be stupid to retire, but you know, I'm on a bit of a losing skid at the moment, I really am. I'm not finding me right ways and stuff like that. It's crazy because, you know, when I'm in the gym sparring with all these best guys around the world, I'm in my element, and then when I step there in the octagon, I just can't seem to put things together. Then I have moments, like in the second round, where I'm untouchable, but then, you know, certain things happen, and I just want to say to everyone there, whether you love me or hate me, I'm sorry. I tried to come in and put a show on. I never cut no corners.
Hopefully, in a little time, the gorilla will be back and we'd get to see the Smash Bros dominate together. Considering the long list of bodies left in her wake, Valentina Shevchenko should be bulletproof against any criticism about her abilities as a fighter. Shevchenko has looked almost untouchable at times, but rising star Erin Blanchfield believed differently when recently examining her game. Blanchfield didn't hold back and said,
I think like on the actual floor, like her jiu-jitsu it's not bad, but it's just very, very basic. I don't think she has like many submissions, or I don't think she can get out from certain positions very well, like we kind of saw against Talia. So I kind of think that's where her game is probably the most basic and probably could use like some improvement.
Addressing those comments, Shevchenko picked an offense in Blanchfield's statements and expressed that the young contender is not ready for a title shot. Shevchenko coldly told Ariel Helwani,
"Yeah, I heard Erin, she talked about title fight right away, right next, but I think for the title fight, she's still green."
It's really funny to see her say that, especially when it's coming from a girl 23 years old and having 5 fights. It's really funny. For me, it's good compared to when you see a young puppy. He's barking around, jumping around, he's happy, he hasn't seen life yet, didn't experience any trouble in life, and the ears are up. Like in the example in nature, when a puppy is growing up, they step into the adult, mature life. They start to experience all these real life problems. Then they start to learn how to live, how to deal, how to be smart, how to be themselves and find their lifestyle. That said, UFC President Dana White seems to think Blanchfield is probably next in line for a title shot, assuming Shevchenko can't get through Alexa Grasso in her title defense coming up at UFC 285. Dana said, "Should Valentina beat Grasso, Blanchfield makes a lot of sense actually. She looked unbelievable. Badass. If the fight does happen, it would be one of the most skilled women's MMA matches in history." Heavyweight stars Jon Jones and Cyril Gane are set to face off in a highly anticipated title fight on Saturday night at the T-Mobile Arena in Nevada. But with the possibility of either fighter not showing up on fight night, they needed a backup. Well, who the UFC chose was a rather unlikely figure in Russian heavyweight star Sergei Povlovich. The news was confirmed by Povlovich's manager Ali Abdelaziz, who claimed that the Russian heavyweight would be weighing in on Friday ahead of the bout. Brett Okamoto reported in a tweet, Sergei Povlovich is the heavyweight backup to this week's UFC 285 main event, per his manager, Ali Abdelaziz, at Ali Abdelaziz 00. Dana White mentioned last week there is a backup in place. Povlovich will weigh in on Friday in Vegas, per Abdelaziz. The UFC drew praise for the decision to have Povlovich as the backup fighter, given the fact he is ranked third in the division and a rising talent among heavyweights. Currently on a 5-fight winning streak, Povlovich scored knockout wins over Marcelo Glom, Maurice Gris, Shamil Abdurakhimov, Derek Lewis, and most recently, in December 22, Tai Tuivasa. The 30-year-old's last and sole loss took place in his octagon debut when he got TKO'd by Alistair Overeem in November 2018. Even UFC commentator Joe Rogan appears to be in awe of the rising heavyweight contender. In a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Rogan hailed the Russian as one of the most interesting fighters in the 265-pound division and compared Pavlovich's punching power to that of former UFC champion Francis Ngannou. He also expressed interest in witnessing a fight between Povlovich and John Jones.
Pavlovich.
Oh, Pavlovich.
Oh my God.
That's the boy.
Yeah.
Sergei Pavlovich. That's the Russian Fedor. I mean, the Russian Francis, rather. He, like, comes out guns blazing on people, just like Francis used to. That motherfucking bomb. Very good. But he's, to me, with Francis leaving, he's one of the most interesting guys at heavyweight, if not the most interesting guy at heavyweight.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see him fight a guy like John Jones. That's crazy to me.
The Russian contender does have a fight scheduled, as he's set to meet top contender Curtis Blaydes in the main event of UFC Fight Night on April 22. But for now, I'm sure he'd love a chance at the title. Islam Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski engaged in the kind of super fight that will always be remembered, and it's likely they will see each other again in the future, but probably not right away. That's according to UFC President Dana White, who praised the main event fighters from UFC 284 for putting a battle worthy of a champion versus champion showdown that rarely happens in the promotion. Ever since the fight took place, fans have been voicing their desire of watching another bout between the two champions. Even Volkanovski has continuously called for an immediate rematch, arguing that he deserved the nod over Makhachev. He tweeted, "Just watch the fight. I definitely think I won 2, 3, and 5. Surprised I didn't get my hand raised. Let's do the rematch, anywhere, anytime." Now, Dana White has heard those claims, and he reflected on the prospect of a rematch in the near future. The UFC president said,
"When you make a super fight, could you possibly have a better result than we did on that fight, right? When the entire world is arguing over who won, that's a super fight, and it delivers, right? The only thing that could possibly be better than that is the guy who's fighting for the interim title comes out looking incredible too."
White went on to further reveal that after the upcoming bout between current featherweight champion Volkanovski and Yair Rodriguez, there will be a possible rematch of Makhachev versus Volkanovski.
So now you got Yair versus Volkanovski, right? We'll see what happens with Islam and where he ends up fighting next. You have to do Yair. You have to do that fight. I mean, the guy came out and absolutely dominated a stud that night. And then you have the rematch after they both fight again. You could not have a better result. I don't know. We didn't make any fights yet. Yeah. There are a lot of different things that play out in making these fights. You know, timing, injuries, personal stuff, whatever it might be. But yeah, to me, the fight that makes sense is you make Yair versus Volkanovski, Islam versus somebody whenever that happens, and then you do the rematch.
One thing we know is that Dana is not to be 100% trusted. Who knows? We could get a rematch sooner than later. Hey, it would also be cool if you became a subscriber sooner by clicking that subscribe button. Also, comment and give us a like.